Hello and good evening and welcome to the watch along. It is time for some Premiership rugby here on the channel. It is the weekend. Finally, we are here. Good to see a few of you already watching. Welcome along. It is Northampton Saints against London Irish. Gallagher Premiership, and we are at round 16. If you're watching, make sure to like the stream. Really helps the channel out and the stream. And make sure to subscribe as well. And of course, get involved in the comments with any of your thoughts and your questions ahead of this games and any questions on rugby in general. I've got my Northampton Saints top on ready for this one. I'm not alone this evening, though. I have a very special guest on the channel who has some very exciting news to bring you as a Cardiff Blues fan. I mean, he thought it was going to happen. He thought their best player was going to join the best region in Wales, but unfortunately, he is staying with the Blues. But I'm very, very happy to say that I am joined by Ben from Rock and Roll Rugby. Ben, how are you doing? How happy are you on a scale of 1 to 10 right now?
Oh, mate, absolutely beaming. I mean, like you said, it's the news that everybody's been waiting for, really. And it was just a matter of when it was going to come out rather than if it was going to come out. And they toyed with us in the week and said that Dai Young was signing on with a contract extension. And I thought, oh, come on, the suspense is killing me. But no, Jared's put pen to paper. And apparently, from what I read as well, a long-term deal as well, which a player at his stage of his career, that's exactly what he would have wanted.
Yeah, I think it's a really good signing for the Blues. And although I joke and say I'd have loved him at the Ospreys, I do think he's a quality player. But most of the time, that's just wind you up. It's just good fun, isn't it, to do as fans? That's what we have to do. But no, good to see him sticking with the Blues, but also sticking in Wales. But let's focus on tonight's game. It is Northampton Saints against London Irish. And let's have a look at the table. I thought it'd be interesting to have a look at the table, and then we'll talk a bit about the fixtures that are going on over the course of the weekend. So as you can see, both teams are very, very close. 41 points to Northampton in 5th, and then 40 points to London Irish in 6th. So they're very, very close. They haven't played this season because of the pandemic. The game was cancelled due to COVID. So it's going to be a really interesting game tonight. Obviously, Northampton lost against Ulster last weekend in the Challenge Cup quarter-final. So that was a big loss for them. Also this weekend, you've got Sale Sharks against Gloucester, which is tomorrow at 12:30. You've also got Exeter Chiefs against Wasps at 12:30. We'll be doing a watch along for that one as well here on the channel. You've got Newcastle Falcons against Bristol Bears. You've got Harlequins against Worcester. And then you've got Bath against Leicester Tigers. So a really interesting game tonight. I thought it'd be interesting also to have a look at the key battles. And as a Welshman, I'd be really interested in your thoughts on this battle. Dan Biggar against Paddy Jackson. What are your thoughts on that battle, of course, because Paddy Jackson has been amazing this season for London Irish. Really creative, really good player, but Biggar stepping up more, isn't he, as a leader at Saints, you'd have to say, Ben?
Yeah, I think if you start with Paddy Jackson, I think, you can take all the controversy out of his career because I think at the end of the day, this is his job. He's a rugby player. He's there to do a job, and regardless of what people's opinions are of him, I think we need to focus on the fact that at this moment in time, he's playing probably some of his best rugby of his career. He's got a fantastic backline around him, which, when we show the team shortly, we'll have a little look at those. But the way he's been playing this season, he's been so reliable with the boot. His ability to dictate where London Irish play on the field, obviously as a Blues fan, found that out in the most difficult of circumstances. But yeah, this London Irish side is packed full of exciting talents and talents that needs to be shown on a more prominent scale. But like you said, Paddy Jackson is definitely the man to lead that team around, and he really gets this team moving. And the little bits of experience they brought in have massively helped it out. Yeah. But then you look at Dan Biggar, and for me, I think Northampton has really brought his career back to life almost, because there was a stage where he seemed like he was almost out of contention, out of favour, with everybody talking about who was going to be the next 10, even though he still had years left of his career. So it was definitely an interesting time, but he's come out and he's spoken about the fact he's had to up the levels of intensity that he trains at, that he plays at, because the Premiership is so far superior to the Pro 14, and I think it's showing in many respects. But But yeah, it's definitely, I think the better 10 tonight will help dictate where this game goes, really. And I do think it stems from that 10 position.
Yeah, I think both of them are playing some good stuff. Different styles, but very much good 10s. As you said, let's have a look at the teams then, and we'll go through it quickly. So starting with Northampton Saints, starting from the fullback, George Furbank returns and plays his 50th game for Northampton this evening, with Ollie Slateholme on the wing, Fraser Dingwall and Piers Francis on the centre, with Tom Collins on the other wing, Dan Bigg and Alex Mitchell at 10 and 9. In the front row then, Nick Otarak, Mike Haywood and Paul Hale, David Ribbons and Alex Moon on the locks, with Nick Isakue playing at 6. Lewis Ludlam is captain at 7. I thought he was very good last week against Ulster. Timena Harrison is at 8. For London Irish then, at fullback Tom Parton, on the wing Ben Loader, Cardiff Blues' favourite player. He absolutely tore them apart a couple of weeks ago, but really excited to see how he does this week. Very exciting player. James Stokes and Terence Hepatima play in the centre, with Ollie Hassel-Collins also on the other wing. Paddy Jackson at 10. The Aussie, very experienced Nick Phipps at 9. Allendale Moto Matua is at hooker. Lovejoy Chawatama, the Zimbabwean international, is completing the front row. Tunaya Munga and Rob Simmons then playing the locks, with Ben Donnell, Blair Cowan, who's captain at 7, and Albert Tuasui. What are the names that stick out to you there? Albert Tuasui is a big ball carrier, but also Ben Loader can create a lot of problems.
Yeah, I think they were talking about it. I was going to say before we came on, I think the back three for London Irish, not only in Europe, but in terms of the way they've played in the Premiership this year, that back three of Parton, Loader and Hassel-Collins, they really have taken sides to the sword. And, they've got this ability to find spaces on the outside, using their forwards to interlink, using the likes of Blake Cowan, Tuasui in those outside channels to create those overlaps. And put these players in spaces, and I think it really has worked for them this season. But on the opposite side, I cannot wait to see this this Northampton Saints back row have a go, because Nick Isakue, I think there's lots of question marks above him. What's going to happen with him with Saracens? Because as somebody mentioned in the chat when I first logged in now, it looks like the Premiership are going to be suspending all relegation until 2024. So even with the Saracens salary cap ban, that still sees them out of the Premiership for the next few years. So it'd be interesting to see where he sticks around. Playing really, really well. But I think Blake Cowan has really found his form at London Irish. And like we mentioned, the beast that is Tuasui. He really could get some goal forward for this Irish side tonight and give them a chance to play that wide, expansive rugby.
Yeah, definitely. I think if he can give them the platform to play, then it could be quite difficult for this Northampton team. Let's get to some of your comments. Sean O'Farrell jumped into the chat very early on and said, thoughts on relegations getting scrapped in the Premiership in 2024. There are rumours that 2 teams from the Championship would be allowed to come up and be locked in that until 2024. So that would obviously more than likely be Saris and potentially Ealing Trailfinders. That could happen. Again, I'm not particularly surprised by it. It's an easy way as Freddie says there, Saris will come up that part of it with Ealing. Again, they just want to protect the game, and I completely get that. Do I think it helps the competitiveness of the league? Something we see in the Pro 14 week in, week out. Doesn't help at all not having relegation. David Topping, good to see you, Dave. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you in the chat. Jackson has been in excellent form this season. Bigger hasn't been firing on all cylinders. Ben makes a good point about Saints reigniting Dan's career. I expect another cracking game. I think we're in for a really good game. And Dave also says Jackson by silver to win the 10 battle. Not sure if Irish can do the job. Saints to win by 5. So we are ready for kickoff. Very, very close. Make sure you've liked the stream, you subscribe. Don't forget there's the option of a super chat if you want to support the channel financially. I always say this though, there's no pressure to do it. If you can't do it or you don't want to, that's fine. But if you want to support the channel financially, you're more than welcome to do that. Currently working on some really exciting videos. Put one out recently on making Alan Wynne-Jones a Lord. I will build him a statue when he retires myself. I will do that. King of Wales, and if he wants to marry me, that's absolutely fine. He can do that as well. So he's anything really. I'm all good with it. So but yeah, do go check that video out. It was really fun, something different, but working on a lot of exciting videos. They are having a 2-minute silence here just before the game for Prince Philip. So what are your predictions for this one, Ben? Very close in the table, haven't played this season against each other. Both teams crashed out of Europe. What are you saying? Who's going to win this one?
I got to say, looking at the two sides, for me, it's Northampton. I think to an extent, sometimes they can be guilty of, and I know players and former players and pundits have picked this up, sometimes they're a little guilty of overplaying, and sometimes they look to play far too much with the ball, and they love this attacking style of rugby, which is great to watch, and they're great, and they get lots and lots of tries out of it. But one sides have worked it out, one sides have found their way into the game, and they've worked out how these defences are organised. Then sometimes they can run out of ideas a little bit. However, I think the pack will give them the go forward, and I do think that they'll do the job over Irish, but I think it'll be close. I think I'm with David on this one. I'm going to say it's anything between 5 and 10 points.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close one. Wayne Barnes is captain. Not captain.
Captain?
Jeez, he's not captain. He is the ref. We've just kicked off here. So London Irish in there, all white tops, green shorts, and then, of course, Saints are in their traditional colours. Get your predictions in the chat and let us know your thoughts on the game as it goes along. Obviously, Northampton had a really good start against Ulster last weekend, but then they kind of faded near the end. But obviously, all those yellow cards played a big impact. What are your thoughts on yellow cards and red cards, the situation we find ourselves in now? Because we're seeing loads of them at the minute. Is it a thing that players just need to get used to, or is it that the players aren't educated well enough, or what do you think it is?
I think the big difficulty players have got, and I'm all for, and like you said there, I think the players have got a responsibility. They need to adapt the way they play in the game to suit the way in which the game is moving. However, there is so many variations in the refereeing across, like if you think about last week, watching the Leinster Lions show on the 3-Bod Rugby group earlier this week, Ian Whitten was saying that in pre-match chats now and the sort of the build-up to these games, the players are actually aware of the fact that if they've got a French referee, they know that the breakdown is going to be refereed in a slightly different way. And that's really difficult for a player. You train a certain way. You've got players that deliver in a certain way. And then, some games you might put yourself in positions where you get so many turnovers. And then in another game, just putting yourself in those positions can see you bring on penalties towards yourself. So I think to an extent it needs to be there. And I think the game, especially where sides are compiling so much pressure, the sides are almost expecting the fact that they're going to be rewarded some form of sanction as a result of their pressure. However, I think the refereeing standards make things very difficult. As Tuasui does a what's it called then? Does a Seb Davis running down the middle of the pitch with the ball in one hand. However, he is Fijian, so we will allow it.
Well, for a second there, I did think Seb Davis, maybe had a Fijian dad at some point. London Irish attacking really nice here from the stolen ball. They've gone all the way down to Northampton's 22. We will get some more of your comments in a minute. Henry, that's shocking. Try again, mate. That is awful. If you're going to catch me, it's got to be much better than that.
Oh, but I missed that. What did he say? What did he say?
I'll put it up, but if you read it in your head, you're gonna have to be a lot quicker than me. You're gonna have to be a lot quicker than that on that one.
That's very good. Fair play.
Yeah, but you have to be better.
If I'd have had a few beers, I'd have probably had a go at saying that.
Big hit with Stewie there. Massive hit coming in. From him. I think you tried that one, Henry, like last week. So you got to come with something different, something new, something that's going to make.
Yeah, look at the turnover by here. Look at the audacity to carry the ball in one hand and the way he carries it as well. Like, what an absolute machine.
We've seen that move a lot though recently. Players at the base of the ruck, whoever's that first defence isn't defending it well enough, and there's massive gaps, and then he bursts through. And it was some nice rugby from London Irish there, but not quite able to execute. Let's have a look at Sean of Fowles comics. This is an interesting one. The new law has been tried out for the Rainbow Cup are interesting. The new red card rule, 20-minute one, is stupid. What are your thoughts on this? Because obviously MLR is doing something similar as well.
I see it on a two-edged sword. I think the Pro 14 needs something. It is, if you look at the three major leagues in Europe, you look at the top 14, you look at the Gallagher Premiership and the Pro 14. The other two leagues are so far ahead of the Pro 14, it is unreal. And it's getting to that stage now where, you talk about viewing figures and regions not getting enough funding. It's because sometimes, and at the end of the day, rugby is an entertainment business as well as a sport. So I understand bringing in these rules that are going to make the game a little more interesting. For me, the red card one is stupid. If a player commits a sanction that's bad enough to receive a red card, then he should stay off. The only way that I think that would potentially work is if it was for a double yellow. So if a team received a double yellow red, then I think, because sometimes we see it with front rowers. Last week we saw it with the Newcastle Falcons front rower. He got 2 yellows and he was off with a red. Now, in those sorts of positions, I think it is fair that you're able to bring a player back on. But I think that's ridiculous. The dropouts for held up over the line, I do like that because I think it brings in that sort of rugby league element to the game and it sort of gets a lot more quickness into the game. Overall, though, I just think like we said, they've looked at the lead of the MLR, they've seen what they can use, and they've tried to put it in their own way. But I just don't see how it works, mate. I don't know about you, but I just don't see it working.
Yeah, it's interesting. They're trying to be different, trying to do something a little bit different, aren't they? The red card for me, one is stupid and dangerous.
Yeah.
It almost gives players excuses and a leeway to do things that they probably shouldn't do. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that one works and how do you judge what is an orange card and what is a red card? What is the barometer? Is that the right word? Maybe for orange card and for a red card. Throwing out the big words tonight.
Love it.
And, yeah, I think they've tried to do it a little bit different, like the MLR. The 22 drop I'm all for. I think that'll make it. We'll speed the game instead of having like 10 scrums on someone's 5-meter line and go down, penalty, yellow card, penalty, yellow card. It'll make it a little bit different. But to be honest, with this Rainbow Cup, I don't know. I just did a preview with someone actually for it on someone else's channel this week. And I don't know, we've spoken about it quite a bit on the Welsh Rugby Roundup show, haven't we, about how our team's going to approach it. Are they going to say, right, we're going to give the youngsters a go? Or, like, as a Blues fan, honestly, do you care if you win the Rainbow Cup? Obviously, this Europe thing is playing in your mind. But if that's not playing in your mind, do you truly care about the Rainbow Cup?
Not massively, mate. I think it's one of those things that it was an idea that was thrown out there. And I think because of everything that's happened since the idea was thrown out, it is getting to that stage now where they're putting it on for the sake of putting it on. I don't see, apart from financially, what any side gains from this. I know we had a shortened season because the South African boys couldn't come over and join for the start of the season, which is fair enough. That was difficult because of COVID. But I just don't see the point. I'll be brutally honest. Especially if there are sides that are going to take it extremely seriously and there are sides that are not, because it just becomes a thing of, we know full well Leinster will probably put out their second or third team because the majority of players will either be involved in Irish camps leading up to the summer tour, or they'll be involved in the Lions squad. So they'll end up putting out their junior squad and they'll still trounce half of the competition. So unless sides are going to put out their best teams, I don't see the point to it myself.
No, neither do I. London Irish attacking a little bit here. Still 8 minutes in nearly, and we're still 0-0. It'll be interesting to see how the Rainbow Cup goes. We're going to do some content on that on the Welsh Rugby Roundup show over the next couple of days. And next Saturday, we're going to do a watch-along for Ospreys against Cardiff Blues. An Ospreys and a Blues fan going at each other. That will be fun. Let's have a look at some more of your comments. Let's have a look at what they are saying. Kenneth Quaynon is on the channel once again. Hope you're doing well. As Simon Zebo returning to Munster is both exciting and pointless. Not sure why that is. We're bringing him back when Ulster/Connacht will suit him better. I think he's a really good signing. Mike Haley at fullback has been good for Munster, but I think Zebo, he's played at Racing. Racing is a brilliant club to play at, and I think Munster maybe are a little bit one-dimensional in the way they play, and he can offer you something different. I think that's a really good sign.
Doesn't make sense. Try time, London Irish, Phipps made a lovely.
Nick Phipps, I'm absolutely nowhere there. Bit of loose ball.
You've got to say, with this London Irish side, though, sorry, before we go back to that, they've recruited so well in terms of they've picked key positions that they need that leadership in, and they've bulked their squad out around this. So they've built this side around Jackson and Phipps at 9 and 10. They've added the experience in the line out of Rob Simmons. They've brought in the back row. Blake Owen has been playing at London Irish for a while, but they brought in Sean O'Brien, and most games he comes off the bench and makes a big impact. I just think that the way that they've recruited at London Irish has seen their success. They were regularly a side lingering at the bottom of the Premiership, but they actually look like a really good side this season. And I think that little interjection of quality here and there really has made a massive difference for them.
Yeah, definitely. The defence from Saints, you have to say, is pretty weak there. Is the greatest defence. But Paddy Jackson with a chance to add the 2 points. So we'll come back to your comments in a minute. But let's have a look. I think I'm a tiny bit behind you. Yeah, you got that quite comfortably.
Nice strike as well.
7 points to 0 then. Interesting.
We're off. Mate, the duck is broken. The duck is broken. What do we do? 160 minutes of watch-alongs between us last Sunday, and we didn't get a try, and we had one in 10 minutes. Oh,
very much. Bordeaux racing all the way till the end until Jalibert produced an outrageous kick, and then we watched Toulouse, Clermont in the pouring rain, and that wasn't all that much better. And let's get back to some of your comments. Again, Friday night watch-alongs are a lot more chilled, a lot more relaxed, so I'm not all that fussed too much actually about the game itself, but
no.
Oh gosh, I'm burping a lot. Going back to the comment on Ulster Connacht, for me, it wouldn't have made sense for him to go to Ulster Connacht. He has no affinity to them. You look at Ulster at fullback, Michael Lowry's at fullback, very, very good. Connacht, I'm trying to remember the name of the fullback, but he seems
Tiernan O'Halloran.
Yes, and of course you have the Australian Porch who can play there and can play on the wing. To me, again though, I've heard rumours and reports that this was pushed more by Andy Farrell, and by the Irish Rugby Federation or Union or whatever they're called. So it's very obvious that Andy Farrell wants Zebo involved.
Oh, it's another try.
I'm definitely behind you. Oh, bigger.
What a lovely finish. Fraser Dingwall. I think it's Fraser Dingwall.
It is.
Yes.
Really simple rugby, that.
That was good.
Well, we've got 2 tries.
If you look at the try here, though, and this is what I'm talking about, Bigger, he just hangs off the line because he knows a gap is going to appear, and then he just squares the shoulders up and ready when Dingwall's on his outside. But he does really well there because it's so easy for Bigger as a 10 there to follow his 9 wherever he's going. But he did that thing there of he stood off, looked for that gap, and then picked his inside line, which was really good there, fair play, considering that Bigger was not the most attacking fly-half, I think Wales had at one point, but he picked a lovely line there.
Yeah, really nice line. Again, though, I mean, defensively, I mean, Tuasui trying to catch Bigger, it's unlikely to happen, but good support line and 7 points all. I mean, as you said, we went 160 minutes last week without trying. We've had 2 already in the opening 13 minutes or so here. Let's get back to some of your comments. Yeah, your thoughts on Zebo.
I like the fact he's coming back because it's one of those things at the minute. I'm one of the traditionalists. I like the fact that players go back to their home countries to play rugby. Realistically, at the moment, you look at the Irish setup, I think Farrell is in desperate need of a decent fullback. I mean, Hugo Keenan is great, and I know there's a lot of people that will say in the chat that they're a big fan of him. But I think at this moment in time, if you think about like the slightly bigger games that Ireland have been involved in, where sometimes they lack a little bit of something in that back 3, but he also brings that creativity. And I think when we spoke with the guys from Ulster about it, is that sometimes Ireland are guilty of sort of crabbing across the field from one side to the other, looking for an opportunity to attack. they completely tore that up when they played England, and they absolutely demolished them in most assets of the game. But I really like the bringing back of Zebo. I do like him as a player. I love how unpredictable he is. And playing in Racing for a few years is definitely not going to have done him any harm.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely improve, and we've seen that with Finn Russell as well. Let's get to some more of your comments. Let me have a look.
Big mistake from Jackson there, ball out on the full.
Yeah.
Nice attacking shape from Irish as well.
They do look dangerous when they have ball in hand. They look like they can create something, very much counter-attacking. But that's a big mistake there from London Irish, giving the Saints an opportunity to attack, trying to go for the cross kick. Let's have a look at more of your comments. People say red cards ruin games, hence the new law, but there are reasons why red cards happen. Absolutely, we discussed that already. Just don't get yourself sent off. It's the same for Wales in the Six Nations. People saying, oh, they're lucky and stuff like this. They were all red card incidents. Just don't get your players sent off. Captain's referral is the other one, of course, in the Rainbow Cup. I like this. I quite like, and I think for the Ospreys, if Alan Wynne-Jones is playing, he'll know which one to pick.
Yeah.
So I'm quite happy with that. But is it going to become a whinging thing? I think it's one referral, isn't it, a match? But is it going to be a whinging thing?
From my understanding, it's one referral per game, and it can be related either to a try incident or a discipline issue that the captain would like to raise. But like you said, it's only one. So it's getting to that thing now. It's almost a bit like tennis with the challenge rule. To an extent, I like it, and I think like sometimes the referees do miss things. But like we saw the other week, if you think about back to that Bristol game out in Bordeaux, there was definitely a call for a knock on him with the Bordeaux tries.
Yeah.
And Sheedy was captain at the time because the two previous captains for Bristol had either gone off injured or been replaced. And it's a difficult one because sometimes it doesn't matter what you say to the ref and doesn't matter what the TMO looks at. Sometimes they still make a mistake. So it's definitely interesting they brought it in. And I know Eddie Jones mentioned it in one of his post-match interviews. I think it might have been against France. And saying that I didn't know captain's call was a thing. So maybe that's something that's brought in over the coming years. Whether it'll make a massive deal of difference to the game, considering how much the referees use the TMOs nowadays, I don't know. But we'll see how it goes with that one. I'm on the fence with that one. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't upset me. But I don't see how it makes that much of a difference.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what difference that makes on the game and how it's used as well. It'd be quite interesting to see. Gregor Galway says, did you see the stats about the collisions on Saturday night? 80%, then 40% in the second half. They did tail off, didn't they, in the second half? France's game against Ireland has been called off, the women's. That's sad to hear again. I mean, a lot of question marks on what's going on there. Absolutely. Sean says you should try watch on for one of the South African derbies. Northampton do have a penalty here. Bigger's going to take it, so we'll keep an eye on that. I've got a feeling that it might be quite a boring game to watch, but I'll think about it. Again, we're going to do the Blues Ospreys one, which is, I think, a 5:15 kickoff. Bigger kicks and is successful. A monster kick from Bigger. And Northampton Saints take the lead in this one, 10 points to 7. So I'll have a think about which game's going to do. I'm thinking of doing one on a Friday night as well for Ulster Connaught. So I'll keep you updated. Obviously, they'll all go on the community tab, as always. Let's have a look. What else have we got here? Right now, Zebo has struggled to start ahead of Keenan in the fullback position for Ireland, and Lowry has performed really well too. Add to that a fit Will Addison. The question is, does he start for Munster ahead of Mike Haley? I think he does. I think he starts. I think Mike Haley's brilliant. I think he's done really, really well. He's played for Ireland once or twice, I think. Obviously born in England, played for Ireland though. Would you start him ahead of Mike Haley based on this season's performances?
Again, this is a double-edged sword, really. I think if you start him, you get that experience from the off and that air of unpredictability. But you imagine if you're a front five forward, you are absolutely blowing out your backside in the final 20 minutes of a game, and you bring Simon Zebo onto the pitch. mate, that's absolutely fantastic to have that level of strength and depth. I know I'm probably going to be unpopular for saying this. I'm not a massive fan of Keenan. I like him in attack, but I think he's very, very shady in defence. And we were talking about this when we were talking about Lions selection a few weeks back. I think that's one of the biggest problems we've got at the minute is that there's so many people we look at and we say, yeah, fantastic attacking option. But then you think of it and it's like defensively struggles massively. So it all depends where Farrell wants to go with his team. The fact that I didn't know that Farrell had pushed for the return of Zebo to Ireland. But it says a lot if Farrell is requesting it. And I think obviously if that is the case, he'll probably go on the summer tour as one of the more senior players and try and work his way back into the side. But interesting to see where he fits in. I do like Mike Haley, I really do, and I think he's a real upcoming talent. And he's definitely one of the ones to watch out for Munster. But Simon Zebo, mate, at the end of the day, who has the audacity to do a kick up in the middle of a match like he did against Wales in 2013? Like, what an absolute joke of a man.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be interesting to see how he gets on.
That is a carbon copy of the try they scored against the Blues. Watch this one, mate.
Oh, lovely. Again, though, really poor defence. Really poor defence. It's awful.
How many times in the last 5 games have London Irish scored from Paddy Jackson drifting out and dropping the ball back on the inside? Watch this here. The line out, there's nobody really defending. So Jackson gets the ball eventually. Come on, speed it up. I'm trying to do my best BT punditry here.
Collins who scored, by the way, guys.
Drifting. He offloads it out to, I think it's Hepatima, and then just drops it back on the inside. But it's just simple, like drifting across the field, and the defence is following him. I think the inside defence there has really got to be a lot sharper. But then again, we talked about that against the Blues, so maybe it is just a really well-worked move. But for me, you've just got to cover your inside man, and the forwards have got to be absolutely busting it to get across there. You look at it there, the nearest forward is Tamana Harrison. Yeah. And then it's left to Bigger, who really, realistically, is marking Paddy Jackson up man for man. So, what a start to this game. 3 tries.
Whoever missed that tackle, though, has to make the tackle on Hassel Collins there. You just got to nail it. It's very, very simple. It's a good move, but it's very simple. But we've had 3 tries in the opening 20 minutes or so here. So it's much better than last weekend. But, as David said, told you it'd be a good game, and it is indeed been a really good game. And I think Wayne Barnes letting the game flow, which absolutely helps the match. It makes such a difference. Let's have a look at some more of your comments. Once again, guys, please don't put links to illegal streams because I'm just going to delete them because I don't want my channel to get taken down, please. Thank you. Right. Let's have a look at some more of your comments. London Irish would have suited Zebo.
Why?
Maybe.
Why? Why did he come back from Racing Metro to play for London Irish?
Yeah, exactly.
Racing Metro?
Being at Racing, he's obviously earned a lot of money. You can't deny that. He'd have earned a lot of money. He'd have done it and then got the cash. But played at a very high level, been very successful. And now with Munster, maybe he's thinking, right, I'll come home, play for Munster for a couple of years, and then, maybe even retire in my early 30s. Maybe he's thinking about I secured the bag, and maybe he's thinking about what to do next. Northampton Saints attacking here. Lovely inside ball. Tackled well.
Biggest distribution is, you've got to say, he's probably one of the best distributing 10s in Europe at the minute. His pass. He's got such a lovely pass off the left and the right.
Knocked on, though, by Northampton in the 22. But Bigger's having a really good game here.
Well, mate, he's living his best life at the minute, isn't he? Oh, I hate saying that. I can't believe I just said that. Living his best life. Oh,
you got a T-shirt of that, have you?
Tell me, live, laugh, love. That's the other one. It's the one we talk about in work. How many bathrooms do you see people doing up and they got "Live, Laugh, Love" written on the wall?
Funny.
Mate, I'm telling you, I want to like create my own range of like bathroom stickers and stuff like that. Make sure you spray after you dirty git.
There's one which I saw somewhere, I can't remember where it was, where it said, "Lads, stand closer. It's not as long as you think." That was quite good. That was quite good. So
that was the one. You know the meme, the Scottish woman saying it was one of you. There's a picture of her up on the wall, and it was like, it was one of yous.
Disgusting.
Disgusting. For anybody tuning in that's actually come to watch the rugby tonight, best of luck. So, what do you have for your birthday, mate? Lloyd Williams framed autograph.
Yeah. You know, and had a Kieran Hardy shirt as well, which was really nice.
Subscription to the Kieran Hardy fan club. Total members, 1.
Yeah. Nah, not all that much really. Bit of money, food, beer. Pretty relaxed birthday. Been in work today, but got the weekend off, which is nice. So nice and relaxed though. Nice and relaxed birthday. So you know, and yeah, it's been pretty chilled, which is always the way to do it. 23 today, so getting on a bit, feeling it.
Right,
got this.
Come on, frame, right? So get that birthday beer out. Dig that birthday beer out of the cupboard, and every try that's scored, you got a neck of beer.
Oh,
at this rate, you'll be absolutely smashed.
Not after having a curry for tea, no way.
Oh no, yeah.
Go back up.
You never eat before a beer, like eating's cheating.
Wayne Barnes is checking something. I'm not sure what he's checking.
He thinks that the try has been scored by the scrum half, but I personally, that's a forearm to the face anyway. Blake Owen could be in trouble here, but he's not held in a tackle. But I think he gets it against the post protector.
I think he's looking at the tackle.
That is a try.
I think that's a try, yeah, but I don't know if
I thought originally that he was going for the post protector, which is no longer acceptable means of scoring a try. Blake Owen counts himself lucky because if he's dropped that over the line or anything, he's definitely going to end up looking at how high he hits him.
Try given. Is he
Alex
not going
Mitchell. No, I don't think so. Right, beer. Get a beer.
So try to Northampton Saints here. They lead by 15 points to 14. Should be a fairly easy conversion.
This is one of the things, though, I think, why the Premiership is so exciting to watch is that it is so high intensity. Both sides look to attack. Both sides look to score as many tries as they can. Yeah, sometimes the defenses is not great. But like I mentioned when I did that video a week or so ago now, is that I think the attitude of the Premiership is that, okay, if you want to score 5 tries, we'll score 7. So, they just know the part of the game is they're going to concede tries, but they just think, well, how are we going to score more ourselves? Oh, that's definitely a tackle in the air. I love it. When a player does something wrong and he tries the theatrics, it's like, oh, I'm hurt, ref. I'm so sorry. Knew full well that he cocked up there. Yeah. Mind you, his equally does land on his head.
Yeah, he does. I think they're going to check this.
It looks that way. Well, mate, there's no better referee to do it. My opinion, best referee in the world on the field tonight.
Yeah, I think so. I think Luke Pearce is up there as well, but for me, Wayne Barnes is the best.
Oh yeah, massively. Great referee. And and I know him and Nigel Owens were very, very close, and he spoke really well of him when Nigel said he was retiring. Well, he's got. Oh, I was just going to say he had the yellow card in his hand before he asked about it. So Loader is off for 10. If you think back to the Blues game, though, he was involved in a similar incident, wasn't he? And he didn't get punished for that one. He stayed on the pitch because he'd already had a yellow earlier in the game.
Am I hearing a bitter Cardiff Blues fan?
No, absolutely not. bastard. No such thing as a bitter Cardiff Blues fan, mate. Just a delusional.
We'll see after Saturday, won't we? Next Saturday, which should be awesome. We're going to do, as I said before, Ospreys against Cardiff Blues in the Rainbow Cup. How would you like the Blues to approach that game? Would you just be like, you know what, just put the youth, just give it a go, see what happens? Or you like, I want to win this because then I can put it in Brandon's face and remind him every day?
Well, yeah, we've already made a little wager together. No, I think for the regions, it's been, apart from the Ospreys, who has been very much a rebuild season, and they've really started to, see the fruits of the labour now. Then, other than that, I think it's been quite a poor season for the regions, and I think they definitely need to start building on some form and some sort of continuity going into next season. From my understanding, looking at the boys that were involved in training through the Blues social media, is that they're not taking it lightly. There's, I think I saw Reece Carey was involved in training. I think Owen Lane is back training as well. Didn't see the likes of Navidi and things like that. But at the same time, Alex Mitchell's through. What pace that is. That's a superb try.
Off he goes. Second try of the game for Mitchell, the scrum half. And, out of nowhere, really, ran halfway through. No one put a hand on him. And Northampton Saints here making the extra man count.
Beer. Another beer. You sounded a little bit northern then, mate. Making the extra man count. You almost went across the border then to Scousland. You and Jamie Carragher?
In the extra man count, you just got to take your chance and you just got to go. And if you don't go, then it's just one of them things. If you don't finish your chance, you just don't finish your chance. But he saw the gap, he went for it, he backed himself, and that's just what you got to
do. Thanks for that, Jamie. Thanks for that analysis. Go on, go over. You get that was a lovely strike.
Just swerved just onto the post there, but it remains Northampton in the lead. They're doing really well tonight, taking their chances. So yeah, if anyone wants to count accents on command, then you've got it here. I have been ignoring some of your comments, not on purpose, but I've got a Cardiff Blues fan talking quite a bit this evening, so it's just one of them things. So
thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you again. Bye now.
Don't forget as well, if you haven't checked out Ben's channel, Rock and Roll Rugby, he made a fantastic video on the differences between the Pro 14 and the Gallagher Prem. Do go check it out. I'll drop a link into the chat over the course of the stream. And did a watch along with Ben on his channel as well. And we got lots of ideas for things that we want to do on each other's channels, but also on the Welsh Rugby Roundup show as well. Let's get to some more of your comments. James Yates in the chat. James, hope you're doing well. A big Northampton fan watching this one. No arms tackle for Mr. Barnes.
Yeah,
couldn't send himself off, could he? Let's have a look at some more of your comments. Where are we up to? We having another comment up here.
Got to be some comments on the accent, surely.
Not quite yet. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, obviously, it was a lovely. That's an awful attempt at Scouse accent. I think it's pretty good because in my work, they're there all the time, and and I watch Monday Night Football, and I hear Jamie Carragher, and when he's calm and stuff like that, he talks like this. But then, as he gets more and more excited, he starts getting more and more squeaky. He's like, "What are you talking about, Gary? You're wrong, Gary. You're deluded." So that's just how he is, isn't it?
If you're expecting me to do a mank, mate, and we become the Jamie and Gary Neville of rugby reviews, then you've got another thing coming. I don't do accents that well.
Jamie,
I can do a relatively good South African, but I know there may be one or two in the chat, so I'll leave that one off.
Yeah, we'll leave them before we offend too many people. Munster versus Stormers. That was a match I relish watching. That should definitely be a good one. I don't know about these South African teams because obviously, I'm going to be totally honest, I haven't watched them enough to really understand the way they're going to be playing. But if you base it off the way South African teams traditionally play, are they really going to bring that excitement level to the Rainbow Cup, do you think? Are they really going to be entertaining to watch, or is it going to be bashing it down the middle, kicking when and maybe have one moment of magic.
I think traditionally you do see the South African sides play that sort of forward dominant game. And I remember a few years back, I was a massive Super Rugby fan watching the South African sides. Especially you going back to, I was a Blue Bulls fan when I watched Super Rugby, and go back to the days of Brian Habana, Victor Matfield, all players like that. And they played really, really nice rugby. I genuinely think, though, that their style of rugby was built to suit the nature of Super Rugby, and whether they are able to transfer that across in the short space of time in the Pro 14, I really don't know. Be interesting to see if they come fully loaded or not. The likes of Sia Khaleesi, Dwayne Vermeulen, whether those sorts of guys come across and get involved. With the Lions, Tua Lurkin, I doubt it. So they'll probably just come across with massive packs and lightning quick backs. So, yeah, I don't know if it's... And especially if they're going to be coming across to the Pro 14, I think it's a good taster to see what they're getting themselves into and what they know they need to build on. But, yeah, I don't really know, mate. I haven't really looked too much into it, I suppose.
Yeah, it's difficult to know because, obviously... I don't know. Traditionally, they're big pack, powerful. They'll have a 12 who'll crash over, like a Damien D'Orlando. Obviously, he plays for Munster, but they'll have someone similar. But I'm not really sure what to expect from them. And I can't imagine the likes, as you said, Khaleesi playing for Sharks. Can't imagine him playing all that much. And to be honest, most of the national team for South Africa play in Europe anyway. I mean, half of them play for Sharks. So
half of them play for Sale.
So a lot of them play in Europe. Etzebeth plays out Toulon. Colby plays out with Toulouse. Faf plays for Sale. So they're all over the gaff, really. And I just don't know how. I just don't know how it's going to work. It'd be interesting to see, but I can't imagine. I just can't imagine. I know that South Africa for the Lions do have a warm up against the USA, so it'd be interesting to see. I guess they're just going to put their strongest team out and see how they do. Talking about summer tours, Mitchell's quality will be in the England tour in North America. Interesting to see who's going there. And Wales going to Uruguay and Argentina. For some reason, I had in my head we were going to Japan, but we are not. We're going to Uruguay and Argentina.
Perhaps it's Japan in the autumn.
Yeah, maybe Japan are coming to play. I know we got the All Blacks, but I'm not 100% sure who we've got. But we do have Uruguay and Argentina in that one. Let's have a look at more of your comments. Yes, Gregor, rest in peace, John Dawes. The sad news coming out today. 80 years old, passed away. Of course, played for the Lions in 1971 and played for Wales. So obviously, thoughts go out to his family and his friends. Really sad news about that. Sad to hear about that. Sean Farr says the Blues have been getting a lot of South African players back from the top 14, etc. I mean, we're seeing that in Wales, aren't we? Players coming back to Wales, which is always encouraging to see. Kano Quenan says, I'd imagine South African internationals would play in the Cup. They need to be fit for 3 intense test matches. Do you risk them, though? That's the question. Do you risk them?
Mate, this is my argument that I put in a forum the other day. For me, that's exactly the same reasons why Saracen players shouldn't be considered. Like, you tell me how playing in the Championship. I know Saracens are going fully loaded tomorrow. I saw the team line up, and the majority of their stars then are playing tomorrow. But I don't see how that prepares you for an international test series, which is like nothing else you'll ever play in. I imagine, like we said, they do need game time. But again, like, especially the way that the Pro 14 is and the way the South African sides play, a forward dominant and power heavy game is only going to bring injuries on. And I know it's not something that happens necessarily every game, but the players are going to pick up little niggles and things like that. I don't know. I think they'll keep certain players back, but I think the players that they're not quite sure of, they will give a go. Because if you think about South Africa as a national side, they haven't played in the Rugby Championship since they won the World Cup.
Yeah.
So in terms of international-wise, their first international taste of rugby since winning the World Cup will be in that warm-up game against the USA.
Yep, they obviously haven't played for such a long time. Penalty here to London Irish. Paddy Jackson, with 10 seconds left on the yellow, has scuffed it wide. So it remains 22 points to 14. 3 minutes until half-time. Half-time, we'll take a quick break, but then we'll be back to discuss the first half and any of your comments and questions. As I say, Friday nights watch-alongs tend to be a bit more relaxed. More about your comments and your thoughts on anything to do with rugby, really. David says, honestly, is the Rainbow Cup that important? I think the teams will put out weaker squads. That's what I think will happen. And as an Ospreys fan, I really don't care about it. If you look at Ulster, they're still in Europe. You look at Leinster, they're still in Europe. So they'll be focusing on that. That'll be their focus. And then a lot of the guys will be thinking, I'm going on a Lions tour, I'm going on a summer tour. How much is it really going to count for them? I really don't know. Sean says here would be a good match. Sharks versus Sales Sharks. Interesting to see that. A bit confusing for the commentators. Hope you guys are well from Freddie. Freddie, good to see you, mate. Hope you are doing well as well. David then says, hope we get Australia in the autumn. Would be a great game. Definitely going if we're allowed. Australia against England always produces good games. The one that I remember, bar the Johnny Wilkinson drop goal, obviously the World Cup, is the one where Chris Ashton did that swan dive try. I remember that one well. He ran the length of the pitch. Let's have a look. Speaking of Lions, I bet my Johnny at Wyn Jones must have been a low blow to you, isn't it, Branston? What? I have no idea. I have no idea. Mike Quainan, I have no idea, mates. But Wyn Jones, captain of the Lions, without a doubt, he's got to be the Lions captain. And yeah, he's going to be captain for me. I don't see anyone else who will be. I mean, unless you're going to put Owen Farrell as captain, then you know, let's get the jokes out now.
Mate, come on now. I know you said Friday's a bit chilled, but let's not get ridiculous now. If Owen Farrell goes as Lions captain, I'm moving to Tahiti. I give up, and I give up on rugby altogether, because that would be the most ridiculous call in rugby history.
Yeah,
the bloke is not captain material. I'm sorry, he's not captain material. And I know that people say that you've got to have time to grow into a captain's role, right? He's not a captain. He really isn't. I don't know. I just don't think that he's captain material.
I agree with you. He's a good player, though. He's a good player, but not bad as a player. But as a captain, some people have that. Warburton spoke very openly and honest about it when he said, look, when I was captain, I felt so much pressure on my shoulders. When he gave it up, he felt like he played a lot better, and we noticed that as fans as well. It doesn't mean you're a bad player. It just means that as a captain, it doesn't really suit you really, and it just doesn't work for you, and that's fine, you know. That's just the way I see it, to be honest. Wales versus Australia, that's what you meant, David. That's fine. Curtly Beale, oh my gosh, the amount of times Curtly broke our hearts. Sean says Stuart Hogg as captain of the Lions.
Ooh. I like it. I don't think it'll happen, but I like it.
As a fullback, I just don't. I don't know. As a captain, I want you to really be involved in the game. I want you to really be involved at the breakdown, everything. You're right there next to the referee. I think it's so important. And again, Quennin says about referring to the point about Wyn Jones again, players' ability to get sent off. No and yes, but Wyn Jones knows what to say. He knows how to wind people up. Kyle Sinclair and him are best of friends, I've heard. So he knows how to do it. So would Hogg at fullback be involved enough in the game? Bigger is going for a kick here just before half, just as the clock is red. So we're just waiting for him to kick this one over, which he does. So it's half time, 25 points to 14 in this one. We'll go for a quick break in just a second. We'll get through your comments first. But Hogg as captain, sorry, mate, what were you going to say before I rudely cut across you?
No, I like Hogg as a captain, and I think he wears his heart on his sleeve. He really is one of those players that plays off emotion. And I think especially since he's joined Exeter, I think he's done a lot more to manage those emotions as well. I know he had a really rough time at the start of the 2019 Six Nations where he had the knock-on against Ireland, and then he did something similar in another game. And he picked himself up really well there. I think he's just matured really well, and I think he is a leader. And the Scottish boys definitely respond to him. I don't think that this Lions tour is right for him, though. You know, maybe if he's still around in 4 years' time, he would definitely be, for me, up there. But I don't see how you can give it to anyone other than Alun Wyn Jones, mate. I'll be honest.
No, I don't. And again, although, you know, we joke about and we talk about it a lot, I do think that Gatland will go with his tried and tested. I just think he will. And people say, oh, Alun Wyn Jones is too old, he's not good enough. I think, once again, just proves people wrong, matures like a good wine does. But, yeah. Oh, Wyn Jones, the prop. Again, just don't get your players sent off. That's my argument. Just don't get your players sent off. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break. We'll get through some more of your comments. Make sure if you're watching that you've liked the stream, that you subscribed if you're new. Again, as I always say, chilled Friday night stream. So it's nice and easy to watch. I'm going to go for a wee, and then I'm going to be back because I am absolutely bursting to go. So make sure like the stream, subscribe as well. And keep your thoughts coming in. I'm going to drop Ben's channel, the link to that in the chat. So also go head over there and subscribe, and we'll be back in a second. There we go. We are back. It is half time in this one. Northampton Saints 25, London Irish 14. Hope everyone is doing well. Good to see you keeping the comments going on in the chat. Just a few things I want to talk about quickly before we crack on and get Ben back involved. I've got some exciting news for you. I'm going to be starting a podcast on the channel. Either it's going to be a weekly one or it's going to be a fortnightly one. I haven't quite decided yet, but it's mostly going to be on various topics within the game, get different guests on, different variety of people on. So any ideas that you have for guests or people that you want to see on, current players, former players, anything like that, do let me know. And that will hopefully be coming to fruition over the next few weeks. I'm also working on a couple of really exciting video ideas that I can't wait to bring you. I've been working on one today, which I am halfway through doing, so I can't wait to bring you that one, something a little bit different again. So I'm absolutely buzzing to see how you respond to them, and hopefully you'll enjoy them. Let's get Ben back into the chat. Ben, it's been a decent half of rugby, hasn't it? And you got to say, Mitchell at scrum half for Northampton's had a really good half.
I think you've got to say the half-back pairing for Saints in our first half were excellent. I think Bigger's variation of passes has been really the biggest thing that's unlocked this London Irish defence at various stages of the first half. But my gosh, Alex Mitchell, he is lightning quick. And you talk about scrum half sensing an opportunity and just going for it. That is exactly what he's been doing tonight. You know, he's taken his both tries very, very well, spotting the gaps and going for it. But yeah, it's, you know, London Irish have had their chances, and, you know, the ones that they've had, they've taken really, really well. But I think Northampton, unlike what happened against Ulster last week, they've been able to back scores up with positive play rather than ill discipline, cards, etc., etc. So yeah, really, really good start by Northampton.
Yeah, very good start. And we'll get to some of your comments in just a second. Let's quickly look at the stats from this first half and see where the game is being won and lost. Possession-wise then, the home team 53% compared to 47%, territory 55 compared to 45%. Meters gained 218 to 202, carries 48 to 44. So it's actually really close in terms of the game. But you'd have to say that Northampton have taken their chances and have also played in the right areas of the pitch. You feel Bigger and Mitchell have had very, very good games in this one. But the defence has been lacking a little bit, if we're being totally honest. How do you see the second half going? Do you think it's going to be the same story? We're going to see Northampton run away with this one?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, they talked about it before the game started, and they were saying about the fact that against Ulster last week, Ulster did a very, very good job of keeping the back row very, very quiet in the second half of that game. So they kept the likes of Tamana Harris and, you know, Ezekwe, they kept those quiet and stopped them getting that front football. The way that back row is working in the unity today, alongside the rest of the pack, I can't see Northampton letting this slip. It'll take a really, really big effort from London Irish tonight, because I think this Saints side, they're singing off the same sheet at the minute. They're looking to run absolutely everything. And like what you just said just now, because those defences are leaking, I think Northampton will tighten theirs up a little bit, but I think it's just in the nature of both sides. They're going to look to attack, and those tries will come.
Yeah, definitely. Let's get to some of your comments. You kept them going over half time. The Irish, I think, would be in the Lions. So these are the Irish ones that Sean would pick. Furlong, Henshaw, Byrne, tag Byrne. I'd expect him to go for Sexton because of the experience he has. And I would also say Keith Earls as well. I'm in agreement with all of them except for Keith Earls. I'm not sure if I would pick him, but I think Gatland may pick him because of his ability to play a whole host of positions. But Canaquanan, we're going to fall out, mate, with comments like this. Unpopular opinion. I don't think Louis Rees-Sam is ready for the South Africa tour, despite being very impressive. This is a totally different ball game, and him against Mapimbi or Kyle could work against him. I mean, Mapimbi's just not going to catch him, is he? Let's talk about that first of all. You ain't going to catch him. I think if you're playing well enough, you're old enough. And I think you got to pick and you got to play. I'd be really interested to see, and we're going to do a video on this, obviously, myself and Ben, about who we would pick. And we're thinking of doing that very, very soon, and excited to bring that to you. But I think Louis Rees-Sam has to go on the tour. Does he start? For me, yes. But I think it has to go on the tour in some capacity. Absolutely. Let's have a look at some more of your comments. Lutube's in the chat. I hope you are doing well. Freddie says that, Freddie says that the Blues have signed, what's his first name? Jared Evans.
Jared Evans, yes.
Signed for the third worst region in Wales, maybe something like that.
Maybe we're going to fall out in a second. I'm going to report you to YouTube.
Obviously, he knew, signing for the Ospreys, that he just get too much success. And he's just like, I don't want this.
Sorry to interrupt you, mate. My mother just wished you a happy birthday, and she loves the haircut. She's quite upset you didn't address the comment last week.
Oh, thank you very much. I did notice it, but thank you very much. I needed
He's
the hair.
all red now. He's blushed.
It's one of them things. Thank you very much. Thank you. The haircut needed to go. The hair needed to go. Honestly, I felt naked afterwards. I walked out the house and I was like, what is going on?
So cold.
It's like, what is going on? So it was quite funny. Let's have a look at more of your comments.
Can we just keep that comment up for the rest of the night?
What about this comment?
Dave Cherry's the world's sexiest man. I also think, right, Dave Cherry for me was probably one of my favourite players in the Six Nations because I just think he took every chance that got thrown at him with both hands. I just love him. I think he's great.
You love to see when a hooker gets 2 tries in a match. You just love to see. You just want them to get the hat trick. I
would love to see a stat of Scotland's, right? Because it was interesting. Somebody talked about it before. How many tries in the last 2 years have they scored that have come from forwards? So I don't know if you remember in the Autumn Nations Cup, they played Georgia on a Friday night. And I think they started with McAnally, and he scored a brace, and then he went off, and somebody else came on, and they scored a brace as well. And I was like, they score so many tries, they hookers. It's absolutely unreal. But yeah, Dave Cherry, that bald head, mate, I think you should go for that next.
I'm not too sure about that. Depends how much you're going to pay me if I agree to a stupid bet at some point. YouTube, happy birthday, Brandon. Thank you very much. 23 years old today. Freddie Clark says Tigers are better than all those Welsh teams. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, how Leicester get on against Ulster. I would still back Ulster to beat Leicester. I think I would. I back Ulster to beat Leicester. A mullet. No, I'm not a New Zealander who's having a midlife crisis. So, no, that's not going to happen. It seems like everyone is going for the mullets at the minute. Sean says, I have a feeling more Scottish players might get picked for Lions with how they did in Six Nations. Gatland has alluded to this as well, which I think is right. Let's have a chat about that just before this second half kicks off then. Hogg is a must. Hamish Watson is a must for me. Finn Russell is a must to go. Who else would be going, do you think?
I think the 2 second rows have to go. In terms, I think that Johnny Gray is all but booked in. I think he definitely deserves to go. I really like Grant Gilchrist. I think he stood up massively against France. The amount of work that guy gets through is ridiculous. It's an absolute joke. I think if you're looking across the back line, then it's where it gets a little bit tricky. Love to see Duhan van der Merwe go. I love a big, strong ball-carrying winger. I just think it's something that really suits the modern game. Finn Russell is the contentious one, because in terms of 10s, you would suspect that he's going to take Sexton. He's going to take Biggar, especially on the form Biggar's in at the moment. But then it's between Ford, for me. It's between Ford, Russell, potentially Farrell, because I wouldn't take Farrell as a 12. So for me, he's in the 10 bracket.
Yeah.
And for me, I'll even though Freddie just made me quite upset by saying that the Tigers are better, I think George Ford is by far the best option out of those 3. Disappointing. I think it will see Finn Russell miss out, but I think he didn't do himself any favours in this year's Six Nations. Big moments where he could have, made himself a name for himself again, and he just let himself down. Sometimes with just little decisions that didn't go his way, but then other times, Gregor Townsend pulled him off early against Ireland, and I think that, killed off any chances of bringing some creativity. But somebody said it to me the other day, I can't remember who it was, but I think off the cuff, I said I wouldn't be surprised if there's more Scottish players than English players in the Lions squad this time round.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that definitely could happen. Sean O'Farrell says 1 to 2 England players to get picked. I think there'll be a few more than that on there, but Yeah, I mean, you have to go with form. Gatland's spoken about it, saying, some players who may have been there 4 years ago won't be there this time. He's not going off reputation. He's going off performances. Lucius says, I'm not trying to be biased, but Harris is the most underrated player in the world. He's the hardest work I've ever seen in rugby for me. I think Scotland have settled on him as their starting centre. I think that's what they're going for in that position there alongside Johnson. But it'd be interesting to see. We've just kicked off here for the second half. So Northampton Saints leading 25 points to 14. Be interesting to see how this second half pans out. Line out to London Irish on their own 5 metre line.
Be an interesting one, and I'll ask it to you and get guys to put it down in the chat as well. Who, if they do pick one, is your Lions bolter? Your player that hasn't been capped or is quite low capped that goes on this Lions tour. Who is your bolter?
Louis Rees-Zammit is the obvious answer because he's not been capped that much. Apart from that, I do think Gatland's going to go with tried and tested. I really do think he's going to go with tried and tested. Duran van der Merwe, I think, could definitely go. I think he will go. Defensively, needs to work a lot on his game. Lots of people saying Danny Kerr in the chat, which is interesting to see. John Cooney is another one. I mean, like
for me, it's between two. If I'm going for a back, it's John Cooney.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one area that I think the Lions not will be concerned, but the fact that there's, if you look at the Six Nations, we've got Ben Youngs, who for me is probably one of the scrum halves that is definitely going.
Yeah.
The Welsh scrum halves, because there's been so much fighting back and forth between the jersey and so much injuries, I don't know who they go with between Gareth Davis and Thomas Williams if they take a Welsh 9.
Yeah.
Irish-wise, I wouldn't take any. I wouldn't take Murray. I wouldn't take his name? Gibson Park. I wouldn't take either of those. Wouldn't take the young Munster scrum half either. I'll be honest. Yeah, I think if you take Conor Murray, then you're just dictating how you're going to play down there because you know that Gatland is going to go Sexton at 10. It's just a known fact.
Yeah.
As long as he's fit, Sexton will start at 10 because Gatland likes the way he plays and he likes the fact that when it's not on, he will put him in the right areas of the pitch. But I think you're missing a trick if you don't go with someone like Cooney or a real outside chance, considering how well he's playing tonight and how well he's played over recent weeks. Alex Mitchell could be a real like that's got to be like 100-1 chance. But in terms of 9, I think that's probably one of the areas where we are understacked. We'll say understacked.
Yeah, I'll go sounds about right, doesn't it? So, what are you guys saying about Ben's question there? Redpath is better, apparently. Danny Kerr, Duran van der Merwe, Jordan Lama. Ooh. Interesting.
I like Lama.
I probably wouldn't take him, though, but very interesting. John Cooney. Scott asks an interesting question. Who do you think is the greatest Welsh player of all time? I think it's difficult to pick one. So, let's say one forward and one back. Are we saying within our lifetime? Or are we saying ones that we've seen ourselves? Or what are we saying? Oh, London Irish. Opportunity here.
I think it's going to be held up maybe. Or is it going to be a Maul? Because he hasn't hit the floor yet.
They're managing to hold him up. What's going on here?
Oh.
They have managed to get it down.
Tuisui, I think, by the looks of things.
Yeah, it looks like Tuisui's crashed over here. Try to London Irish. Tuisui coming strong there.
Back in the game.
19 points to 25. So Scott is asking for us to say before our life. Well, I find that difficult because I haven't seen them play that much. I think rugby has changed so much. So let's start with the forwards then. If you're thinking about it, for me, there's one name that stands out straight away, and we've spoken quite a bit about him already, and I absolutely love this guy and I want him to marry me. That's Alun Wyn Jones.
Yeah, Alun Wyn for me. I would have said, and he's just over my shoulder, but there is Sam Warburton was one of my favourite players to watch. But I think if you're talking about greatest, like obviously that takes that takes what your personal preferences are out of it. I think you can't take away from Alan Wynne-Jones. He's going to be the most capped player of all time in the game, and I think somebody's going to struggle to reach that target unless you look at someone potentially George North. Now that he's had this sort of revamped career in the centre, maybe he might get there because he's still only 28. But yeah, I think for what he's done for the game, for what he's done for Wales in particular, he's got to be the man for me. But backs wise, is someone who's going on the Lions tour that we already know. Neil Jenkins. I absolutely loved watching Neil Jenkins play because he was one of the most underestimated players that ever put on a rugby jersey. I watched a few nights back. I watched the '97 Lions tour documentary down in South Africa. My dad said that at the time when he was watching it as a fan, Neil Jenkins, fantastic 10 for Wales, goes down to South Africa. First game he plays, names Gregor Townsend at 10 and plays Neil Jenkins at fullback, and the whole of Wales just gasped, thinking, "Oh my Christ, what are you doing to the poor bloke?" But he actually went on to start in all 3 tests of that tour. And played fullback in all 3 tests. And I think it just shows the charisma of the bloke, the talent the bloke had. Absolutely love him. And yeah, for me, he will always go down for me. And in terms of the points he scored as well, I think it's still only Dan Carter and Johnny Wilkinson above him in points scored in Test rugby history. So considering how Wales were not the best of sides during that period, I think Jenkins, for me, best back the Wales ever had.
Yeah, I think a few other names. Gareth Edwards has to be mentioned, but a very different era of rugby, but was very, very good. You got, JPR, Phil Bennett, personal hero of mine, Shane Williams, absolute dancing feet, could create something out of nothing. An Ospreys boy, obviously, as well, because that's why he played for the Ospreys. But there's a few names there for sure. It's very difficult to pick one player. Really difficult to pick one player. That's an idea for the podcast, maybe. But
oh, mate, what an idea! Ultimate Wales 15 of all time.
Oh, I like that idea. I like that. We'll have to lock that in. We'll lock it in. We'll lock it in because recently myself and Ben had a chat together, and literally, like, all of this is just ideas of things that we have that we want to do. So we got loads of ideas of stuff that we want to do. So it's about trying to manage it and get it all done. But that is another idea to add to the list. Lucas Gareth Thomas. He's a shout, but I don't know if he reached the heights. What a guy, though, by the way. What a guy. And, the way he speaks about such important issues is awesome to see. But for me,
mate, tell him.
You have to pay for that.
I met him. Met him at his box signing, mind. This one I paid for, but Sammy Warbs as well. And one of my favourite rugby books. If you haven't read it, read that book by James Haskell. What a flanker. Tell you what, the bloke might be an absolute arse on the rugby pitch, but his book is just full of so many clever insights, and it's just really funny to read.
No, I really like James Haskell. I think he's good for the game. I think he makes a difference. Gareth Thomas, though, did he reach the heights of others that we're talking about on the list? I mean,
it's difficult for him because, again, he was in that period of time where Wales were very much a transitional side, and obviously
against Romania and countries like that, and Fiji in 2007 and stuff. Yeah. It's very difficult. We'll do a podcast or we'll do a video on it. We'll do something about it. We'll really go into analysis on it. That'll be a really good video to do. Let's have a look at some more of your comments. Let's have a look. I say the Lions will be made up of 10 Welsh, Scottish 10, Irish 4 and England 4. It'll be interesting to see who's
28 players.
Scots.
I don't know what. I don't know if I've missed it or anything. I still haven't seen confirmed how big the Lions squad is going to be.
I think it's a 32 man.
Is it
32 or 36? Rings a bell. One of them. I can't remember which one. Let's have burps. Scott
was a bit more Welsh. I like that one.
Chavi.
Earlier on, you said around the gaff. I was like, oh, we're going mank now. Oh, God. It's getting worse.
We'll go to everywhere across the world on this watch along. And Scott seems to think that Gareth is the best Welsh player of all time. Sean thinks that the Lions will win 3-0 in this one. Interesting to see. Northampton Saints pushing here for a try, but no try. But the advantage was being played, so they'll go back for the scrum because it was held up. James Haskell swears more in a second than I have in my lifetime. Yeah, he does swear a lot, but I think he is a great.
He's great for the game, mate. He is really good.
Outside chance for the Lions is Jasper Vise or Visa. I'm not comment about how you say his name.
Ooh, okay.
He's very impressive, but does he get in front of Dwayne Vermeulen?
Oh, mate,
I don't see that happening for me. Luke Conway says, hi, how are you doing, Luke? Hope you are doing well. 36-man squad, says Freddie. So
be interesting to jot down ready for when we do our Lions predictions of squads.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of content obviously coming on that on both our channels. Scott says, I was reading the stats in London Welsh had more Welsh internationals than any other team. I couldn't believe it. Is that out of the Welsh regions as well?
Yeah, I think it's if you look back, especially before the game turned professional, London Welsh was one of the main contributors of Welsh internationals. I have got a book about it mentioning like the sort of the history of Welsh rugby. I'll have to dig it out one day. But yeah, it's lovely to see where the game came from and where the game is now, because obviously for such a small country, and you look at our stats, especially over the last few years, we're massively punching above our weight in terms of the amount of people we've got to the success levels we achieve on the international stage. It really is, and people of this generation, we're so lucky to be able to be immersed in that sort of environment of rugby where, you know, like my dad said the other day, you know, when I was a Welsh fan, you were lucky if you picked up a win in the Six Nations, whereas now, you know, if we do lose a game, now most times we count ourselves either quite unlucky or we're quite frustrated that we did lose it. So
yeah,
we're in a great position now.
Definitely. Northampton scrum, 5 meters out. Big scrum from Northampton here. Advantage.
That's a superb line, whoever that was. He just came zipping in from the right. But the thing about Northampton is they're showing a lot of patience as well. Especially in the red zone.
Yeah. They don't force it, do they? They know when it's on and they go for it. Saying that, they forced it there.
No, try time.
A little bit behind you. Let's have a look. Well, wide bigger with a try assist. And it's another try for Northampton.
I got to say, mate, I've been really impressed with Northampton the last couple of weeks. I enjoyed watching them against Ulster last week, and I think they were unlucky. I think the yellow cards eventually did take their toll, but I think they played some really, really good rugby. And if you look at the stats after the game, there were some areas of the game where they dominated, but obviously they've taken that back to the Premiership tonight, and they're playing some great stuff. That's a superb try.
Yeah, it's a really good finish, that.
Again, bigger distribution.
Yeah, again, bigger, lovely hands.
Man of the match for me so far, next to old Alex Mitchell.
Yeah. Slides home, crossing over, getting them the bonus point. You'd have to say probably now, I mean, still half an hour, just under half an hour to go. Game over for you, would you say now?
I think for Northampton, they'll want one more try. Well, we're talking, it's an 11-point game before the conversion. So it'll take it out to a two-score. It'll take it out to a two-score game. I think if Saints can get one more try, I think they'll consider that job done.
Yeah. Bigger with the conversion here. It's tough angle.
Fluffed it,
yeah. So it remains 30 points, 2:19 long to go in this one at all. But really good finish there. And again, just the patience, not forcing it, doing the simple things well. And it's a really good try from Northampton there. And this is an important game, really, if you think about it, because obviously Northampton 41 points, London Irish on on 40 points, 6th and 5th against each other. So a lot riding on this game. Lots of changes. So Matui is off for Cornish, Elrington is on for Dell, and Hoskins is on for Chawatama for London Irish. So a triple substitution as Tuasui knocks it forward. But yeah, 25 minutes to go. Just, yeah, not long to go in this one, but nice and chilled tonight. But yeah, not bad at all. I think Northampton, though, today have just done the simple things well. They haven't forced it. A lot less mistakes than they had against Ulster. Their discipline's been a lot better, and I think they're going to go on and win this one. There we go. If you're watching and for whatever reason you've not yet hit the subscribe button, make sure to do so, and also make sure that you have liked the stream and checked out both of our channels as well. And yeah, just make sure you join the community here on BS Rugby. So scrum to London Irish. Nick Phipps will feed this one in. If the scrum actually gets up. No, it doesn't. Penalty, though, to London Irish. They take it quick. You think that London Irish need to score pretty soon in this one. And next score is crucial. Even a penalty for Northampton, I think, would probably just put them out of reach. And the penalty has gone to Northampton at the breakdown. Let's have a look at some more of your comments. Port Northampton Saints against Brumbies from Australia. Interesting game to see that. Freddie asks, who would you want Ospreys and Cardiff Blues bring in? Well, we've brought in a lot of players, and I mean a lot of players over the past few weeks. We've let players go out on loan as well. So we've brought in so many players. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they get on. But for the Blues, I think the one position that you'd want to improve in is having that ball carrying number 8, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we brought across Sam Moore towards the tail end of last season, but he's really struggled to get any game time under his belt. It's just been injury after injury, and more time spent on the sideline. It was interesting. I don't know if I mentioned it to you. A few weeks back, I was talking to someone, and there's a certain Premiership number 8 that actually went to university in Cardiff, and apparently was offered to stay on at the Blues, but he wanted to go in search of rugby in England. And absolutely smashing it in the Prem is Alex Dombrandt. Actually went to Cardiff University and was on the border of being offered a Blues contract, and he said that he wanted to go and play rugby in England. Wow. Imagine that, because that guy is an absolute freak.
Yeah, and been playing very, very well for Quins this season. Northampton Saints driving maul. Advantage to them on the 5-metre line of London Irish. Still trying to get that try, which surely would kill the game off.
Yeah, I think we just got to take the time here.
Yeah.
Just build the phases, draw the London Irish men in, and just look.
They've got the penalty anyway.
Yeah, just try and look for those men on the outside, because obviously they are going to draw in eventually. As long as they don't buy into this pick and go game. But the angles, I've been really impressed by the support lines and the dummy running lines that the Saints backs have been running tonight, because they've created that. If that is right, you watch this try now, and I'm telling you now, it is bigger all the way that creates this try. You look how hard he works. How hard he works to get on the end of that Mitchell pass. That is all bigger.
Do you know what? He delays the pass till exactly the right time there. Piers Francis getting the try in the corner. Piers Francis did really well to get on the outside there. So lovely wrap around. And again, the extra man just makes it count. Lovely wrap around. Bigger works well. And then Francis beats Loader to get it in the corner. And that is pretty much game set and match, you'd have to say now. But Bigger, what a game he has had this evening. Really good to see him playing well.
Yeah, he's really putting his hand up now. You know, I think for so long he's been in the spotlight for many different reasons. most of the time not the most positive press that a player would want. But I think, with age, he's definitely matured to a stage now where he can back up his ego then with the rugby he plays. And he's just absolutely nailed the conversion right on the touchline to make it a 18-point game, is it?
Yes.
18-point game. So hard to see a way back now for London Irish. If they're going to get back into it, they need to score now. I mean, at the end of the day, there is still 20 minutes to go. Well, 21. But I just think Saints have just built on this goal, which is what they failed to do against Ulster last week.
Yeah, they've taken their chances. They've played in the right areas of the pitch, just managed the game well. And that's why they're going to win this one. A big win for them as well. I mean, the Premiership, we've still got a heck of a lot of fixtures to go in this one, in the competition this year. Still loads and loads of games to go. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season unfolds. I mean, we're at round 16 now, and there are still we've got 22 rounds before we have the semi-finals, and then we have the final at Twickenham then on Saturday, June the 26th. So going to be interesting to see how the rest of the season goes. So 20 minutes to go in this one, but the game is pretty much done and dusted. But there we go. Sean and Farrell asked you guys' thoughts on the Crusaders play coming to Leinster next season. For me, really good signing. Someone to be there when the international's away. Do Leinster need more depth? Probably not.
Yeah, I think they were talking about this, the guys on the Leinster Lions show on Tuesday or Wednesday night. I can't remember what it was. All my days have merged into one this week. But they made a really good point saying that a player of that quality coming from a league and a team that's doing as well as the Crusaders are, he's not coming cheap. So he's definitely going to be there to compete for a place, and he will be there to fill in the gaps when Tide Furlong's away on national duty. But yeah, I think, again, you look back to the way that Leinster have recruited overseas players, they only seem to pick the right player for what they need. You think back to the first one that I can remember when they brought Rocky Elsom in, and he was one of those players that was just always there for Leinster. He always, week in, week out, he was always there. Then Scott Fardy, Isan Asewa, Zane Kirshner as well. Like they just recruit smart, because obviously a lot of the talent in the Leinster squad comes through the academies. But when they do recruit, it is a player that fits a purpose they need.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's something that they do very well. And they, you look at someone like, I know it's a bit different, but Skelton at La Rochelle, he's not going to play for Australia at all, but he's going to be there for the whole year. He's always going to be available. And that's the kind of players that you need. And I think in Wales, especially, that's what we see at the regions. The internationals go away and the quality just isn't there anymore. There's no disrespect to the youngsters coming through, but it's just not, the quality isn't there anymore for them. And it's always going to be really, really tough for them to compete at that level. So, no, I think it's a really good signing, and it's something that the other sides in the league should look to do. But again, with COVID, money's going to be really tight this year. And how much business can be able to be made, and the quality of the business is the big thing. You can bring in 10, 15 players, but if they're all mediocre, they're just going to fill your squad up. Is there any point having them in there? But I think on the whole, most of the Welsh regions, I mean, the Dragons have made some really good business, bringing Will Rowlands back. But then Nick Tompkins obviously going back to Saracens. Do you think we'll see him play for Wales again?
I'll be honest, mate. I thought he was on his way out to the Welsh side anyway. I think if you look at the way in which the Welsh sides are building now, I think in the time Tompkins has been at the Dragons, I think he plateaued quite a bit. And in the meantime, you've seen the likes of Kieran Williams starting to play really well again. For me, Owen Watkin has put his hand up now as sort of the backup centre. I just really want to see John Davis try and find himself a little bit of form, and hopefully get some game time during the Rainbow Cup, because I think he's got the potential to go on the Lions tour. but I think he could have just timed it, or he could be just a little bit outside on time-wise because I just don't know. I think he didn't look himself, especially in the Scarlets game against La Rochelle. He came on early after the injury to Johnny Williams, and he just didn't look himself at all.
No, and obviously Johnny Williams is out injured until the end of the season at least. And Wales, as we've said already, are going to Uruguay and Argentina, so it'll be interesting to see who gets picked for that. But Owen Watkin, for me, has always been a class act. Always played well when he's been given the opportunity. Played very well for the Ospreys this season. I always struggled with Hadley Parks really playing for Wales. Not because of the eligibility thing, but I just always thought maybe he was stunting Watkins' growth maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
But Kieran Williams, watch this kid. He is special, honestly. He's Scott Gibbs-esque, the way he played. Very confident with ball in hand. Small player, but very powerful, very strong. Looks like the real deal. And I'm really excited to see how he goes. Him, Watkin, Kieran Williams, Myler, Webb. I think that's a decent four there. And that's really been the main core of our team over this season is them four. And if them four playing, we tend to play much better.
Definitely, mate. Yeah, I think Myler has been probably the turning point for the Ospreys. They since Bigger left, they haven't really had that 10 that given them the direction they needed. And obviously Myler coming in was a massive boost for them. And he really has given them that go forward. But now, obviously, we talk about Anscombe now. We haven't had that conversation for nearly 2 years now, but we've definitely started to have it now again. Does he fit in the Osprey setup? Where does he fit in the Osprey setup? You'd think that, especially looking at how he played with the Blues, potential option at 15, but then Dan Evans, probably one of the most reliable Ospreys players that they've ever had. Does he lose out on a place? You look at 10, Myler, does he drop down to the bench and come on to close a game out? I think there's lots and lots of questions that are surrounding Anscombe at the minute, but I think the first one is he going to be fit enough to get back to full-time rugby?
Yeah, that's got to be the question. I mean, he was meant to be fit for the new season last year, had an injury setback. I've seen videos of him running and training, but not seen anything with any contact. It's really frustrating. And as we spoke just before we came live, we spoke that he's 29 now. He's not a spring chicken anymore. He's 29. Freddie there says Myler didn't suit the style of Irish, but for me, for Ospreys, he's just solidified. He's made things just tick that a little bit easier and just made it a bit, I don't know, just a bit of organisation really and a bit of leadership from 10, and we've really missed him when he's not played. I thought just to finish, just before the end of this game, we'll take a look at the Rainbow Cup fixtures, round 1 of the Rainbow Cup. We'll have a look at them now, bring them up on the screen, and we'll have a look. So this is round 1 of the Rainbow Cup. So on the Friday, we have the Stormers against the Sharks. That's a 6 o'clock kickoff. And then after that, then we have Ulster against Connacht at 8:15. And then we have the most exciting game of the weekend, which is Edinburgh against Zebra. No, we won't be doing a watch long for that one. But and then obviously on the Saturday, we have Benetton against Glasgow. Then we have the Bulls against the Lions. In the evening, then we have the Ospreys against the Cardiff Blues. And then we have Leinster against Munster later on. And then on the Sunday, we have Dragons against Scarlets. I mean, they're all obviously regional derbies or provisional derbies for each of the sides, bar Edinburgh and Zebra. What are your thoughts on the opening fixtures? What are the ones that stand out to you? Because I think it's going to be interesting to see how the South African teams get on. Yeah,
definitely. And the thing that's the sort of the benefit for the South African sides is that they're not going in their opening game playing against a side they've never played against before. Yeah. So they've got that familiarity of what they're going into. I think you've got to look at the Bulls against the Lions. And I think all 3 of those Saturday games after the Glasgow Benetton game, those 3 are going to be massive, massive games. The Bulls against the Lions, Lions making it to 2 Super Rugby finals in the last 5 years. And the Bulls, they've won the Super Rugby Championship twice in modern times. Massive, massive game. And especially looking at the players that those squads have, the likes of Elton Jantjes for the Lions. You look at the Bulls, we talk about Vermeulen, players like that. Ospreys, Blues. For me, the Blues first best team in Wales versus the second best.
Thank you very much for coming on today, Ben. Really good to have you on.
But no, I think it will be an absolute titanic battle between those two. Things didn't go so well for us last time we played the Ospreys at home down at the Cardiff City Stadium, but I think the boys will be out to right a lot of wrongs, and especially after the way that they lost out in Europe. I don't think Dai will stand for anything less than a massive performance in that game. And then Leinster-Munster, what a game to finish off that Saturday afternoon of rugby. Potentially, depending on how Leinster approach it, considering, like you mentioned earlier, they've got Europe and things like that. You've got to see either Leinster or Munster as being probably one of the favourites to take the title.
Yeah, and then obviously on the Sunday, Dragons against Scarlets. As a Blues fan, how would you like to approach this one? Do you want to go out and win it, or is it more, let's just give some youngsters, let's try some things looking ahead to next season? What would you like to see?
I think I'd like to see a mixture of both. I think we're in a unique position, isn't that? Dai has only played, been in charge for 2 games since he's come back. So for him, very similar to the role that Steve Borthwick's currently got with his Leicester side. Andy Farrell, to an extent, with the Irish side, he's very much in a building phase, and I think it comes at a perfect time because it's almost like a post pre-season, if that makes sense. So you're having that opportunity to play against the best to see whereabouts you are roughly. But the boys will have had, by the time we play, the boys would have had 3 weeks rest. They'll be fresh. They'll be raring to go. There'll be a little bit of rustiness, but I think, and that'll go for all the Welsh sides really. They've got this opportunity now to try things, to see whereabouts that they are. And I think it'll be, like you mentioned about the signings, I think it'll highlight the areas they need to recruit in most. But I think in terms of players that'll play, it'll be a mixture for me of experience. You look at the likes of the players, like, for example, Ray Lilo will definitely be involved heavily for the Blues because he's not going anywhere this summer. I know Samoa potentially may have a game, but even if that's the case, the Samoan guys are never really gone for long. I think you'll see a real mix, and I think it'll do well. The one thing I do think, though, is that Ellis Jenkins, it could be a really interesting couple of weeks for him. Because for me, he could potentially, the way he's playing at the moment, play himself into a place on the Welsh tour in the summer. You heard it here first.
Whenever he's played really, really well for the Blues as well. As an Ospreys fan, I'm similar to you. I want us to see, try and have a bit of continuity, but also try different things, give players an opportunity. I'd like to see Joe Thomas at 10 given a go. Let him have a few games, see what he can do. He's been very impressive when he's played. Ruben Morgan-Williams at 9, I think, is a good little player as well. So it'll be interesting to see how teams will approach it and what they'll look to do. So there'll be loads of watch-alongs on the channel. Myself and Ben will be covering loads of the games. So do keep up to date with what we're doing. Big game of the year, Ospreys Cardiff Blues. I think the Blues will win that game. Freddie, was nice knowing you.
Yes, Freddie.
It's just one of them things.
Drop a subscribe to Freddie's channel, guys. This guy knows what he's talking about. He's a great guy. Oh, I just cannot fault this man.
I actually think, though, if you think about it, I think Ospreys and Blues, I do actually think we're in quite similar places in a way. Maybe the Ospreys are a little bit further ahead than the Blues in their development, in the way they want to play. But I think the Blues massively underachieve with the team that they've got. I always think that the players that you've got, you massively underachieve.
And I think there's a mixture of different things with that. I think it's partly down to the fact that there's so many gaps in our season where we can't get any continuity because we build so heavily. Like in the video I looked at, we lost 11 players either to call-ups or players that were named in the Six Nations squad. Players that were away from the squad, so you can't really build on that. And then on top of that, then you've got the fact that the Blues were moved from pillar to post. Especially this season, played at some games at Rodney Parade, played some games up at the Cardiff City Stadium. They haven't really had a comfortable season at all, and obviously losing Mulverhill early in January, that was another big difficulty the Blues have had. So now things have settled, I'd like to see them build a lot more and start throwing together some some more creative styles of rugby. The more and more we read into it, the less likely it looks that Dwayne Peel is coming now.
But
apparently,
good Scarlets, I think now, isn't he?
Yeah, but apparently a replacement has been lined up, who has worked at Worcester Warriors, so he's got that sort of that Premiership influence. As Northampton have just scored again.
Yeah,
that's a
good finish.
That is a very, very good. He's absolutely burnt Hassel Collins there.
Yeah, I mean Hassel Collins was messed up there again. You have to say, but Ollie Slight home with his second try of the match there from the grubber through. But this game certainly over as a contest. They're just watching it back here. Lovely little grubber through, definitely onside, no question of that. Hassel Collins just looks tired there, doesn't he?
Yeah, he took ages to turn then.
So 42 points to 19.
Oof. Considering how well it started, tries either side, this turned into a little bit of a drubbing in this second half, you've got to say.
Yeah, fifth tries now? Is that the sixth? No, fifth.
That's fifth, yeah.
Yeah, fifth try now. But for the Blues, I've always thought that they underperform. I think, you look at our back line, Lilo, Halaholo, Halam Amos, Matthew Morgan, Josh Adams, Jared Evans, Thomas Williams. That's a really good back line there. And if you had the platform to play, obviously you got Navidi at 7 or at 6, who can do all the dirty work of the breakdown. You got the Fijian Seb Davis in the locks. All you need is that big ball carrying number 8. I think if you had the platform, as Jared gets older, he'll get more experience. And I think Priestland coming in maybe is more of a mentorship thing. Potentially that's what that could be. You could really be looking pretty dangerous next season if you could get things clicking. And Dai Young has obviously had success. Players will respect him straight away. And you've got a good captain in Josh Turnbull. So I think the Blues have got the ability to be a really good team.
Yeah, the ingredients are there. We've just got to start mixing it together now and starting. Because again, I think since we look back a few seasons ago when we lifted the Challenge Cup, the silverware in the cabinet to go with the other Challenge Cup that we won as well. So 2 successes in Europe.
How's your Pro 14 success been going?
probably about the same as Benetton's this season.
But you got to say, in Europe, you have had success, which is something you got to say that with the Ospreys, we never did it, and we should have done it with that team. We should have done it. I don't know why we never managed to do it. Ben Loder's going to score here for London Irish, and they will get pretty much a consolation try here. But Ben Loder does score. He's had a very quiet game, but the Blues do underachieve, and I think next season, as you said, all the ingredients are there to have a really, really good season.
So we'll soon find out, mate. And I think that the Rainbow Cup will be the first stepping stone to maybe future successes. You look at what Dai did with Wasps. Within his first sort of 3 or 4 seasons in charge, he took Wasps to a Premiership final. So, as long as he gets the back-in from the board and he gets the back-in of the WRU as well, I think he could be the right man for the job.
Yeah, no, I agree, definitely. And I think the Blues are on the right track. 7 minutes to go in this one. A bit scrappy, a bit all over the place. Lots of tries flying in. Let's get to some more of your comments. I say more young players will be involved. It's more for South African sides to get ready for the line, so I say they will take it seriously. So, it's going to be interesting to see how all the teams approach it. For me, I think the balance is important, but you look at a lot of players will want to work their way into the national team squad for the summer tour or for the Lions, and how happy are they going to be, right, go play against this really physical South African side, travel all the way to South Africa, come all the way back, jet lagged, tired, physically and mentally.
It's going to be a lot of strain on those South African boys as well, because if it is, as we understand, obviously the first few rounds for them are going to be played on South African soil, but then obviously they've got to come across to play their remainder of games. And from our understanding, the 2-week isolation. So on top of that isolation period before they can actually get involved in training, then you're talking probably 3-4 weeks away from home.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard on these guys as well. So I think as much as they'll come into it to compete, it'll very much for me be a stepping stone as they prepare ready for the Lions series.
Yeah, definitely. An interesting and tasty question here from Freddie. Who's better, Toby Booth or Dai Young? I've got to give it to Dai Young. He's done more in the game.
Yeah, I think you can't take away from Toby Booth
he's done very well.
Good a coach he is.
Yeah.
But I think Dai, he's just got that rugby knowledge, full stop. He went on 2 Lions tours, for goodness sake. The man knows an immense amount about the game.
Yeah.
And I think you just look at what he did with Wasps. When I came on the first Welsh Rugby Roundup show, I brought it up that Dai Young didn't win anything for the first 2 seasons with Wasps. And even to the point where he had to lift Wasps out of a relegation battle at one point to get them where they were. But like I said, within 3 seasons, he'd taken, or 3 or 4 seasons, he'd taken Wasps to a Premiership final. So he's got all the credentials there, and he's done it with Wasps as well. And I think, you look at the players that he attracted whilst he was at Wasps, the likes of Jimmy Gopperth, the likes of, I think Sopawanga was just after he left. But obviously Malachi Fekatoa, great players coming across, and he does attract a higher caliber of player. But again, I think the league has got a big part to play into this time around. I don't think the players will necessarily come across and play for Dai. I think it'll be very much what they can offer them as individuals.
Yeah.
Will his son follow him back over? Will Thomas Young come back over the border to try and enhance his chances of playing for Wales? Because that seems to have gone very quiet for him over the last few seasons.
Yeah, definitely interesting. But I think Toby Booth has done a lot in the game. He's really helped the Ospreys out to consider where we were to where we are now. Again, had success with London Irish as well. Worked at Bath, and of course, is head coach of the Ospreys. Now, coming near to the end of this one, just over 3 minutes left in this one. The game is done. Both teams have had a bonus point. Been a good game of rugby, you'd have to say, compared to last weekend. Would you like a Rugby Club World Cup? I just don't see how it could work really logistically. What I'd love to see is if you could do a Northern Hemisphere best 15 against the Southern Hemisphere best 15. Yeah. That'll be something special to see.
Yeah, because I know that with the rumours that were being thrown about that there wouldn't be an opportunity for the Lions to travel to South Africa to tour. They were talking about a French Barbarians team, and just the sound of that, I was thinking, oh my gosh, could you imagine the likes of the French side linking up with other sides within the Northern Hemisphere, as Alex Mitchell is awarded the man of the match for this game. He was superb. I think Bigger must have run in close, or is that just me being a biased Welshman?
No, I think Bigger's played really well tonight, but Mitchell, fair play to him, has
bloke's electric
tonight. Really played well tonight, and it'll be interesting the summer tours this summer to see which youngsters are picked, who gets to go. Who should we be keeping an eye out on? So it'll be interesting to see who gets picked. Freddie says that Thomas Young signed a new contract last year, so it looks unlikely, as if he's coming back to Wales. But we're into the last 2.5 minutes of this one. Northampton Saints won a penalty, so they kick this one down into London Irish territory. Bigger still on the pitch, had a brilliant game, absolutely brilliant. And I think he went through a phase, didn't he, where people were like, Anscombe starts, Bigger comes off the bench. But I do think in Pivac, he has become a bit more attacking minded and has looked to play. Again, just there, that little pass there, just drawing in the defender and releasing it right at the exact time.
Yeah, I think
all out.
I think we've talked about it a couple of times tonight, but I think the biggest thing that he's built in his locker is that variation of passing, the short passes, the long passes, the long looping passes in behind, all of those things are things that he's worked on, especially in the last few seasons. And I think that it's really propelled him into the position where, for me, he's more than in with a shout of a Lions place. For me, he'll push Sexton all the way. And, you know, I think if Sexton's body will hold out, I think he's more than likely to start. But at the same time, you know, you've got to think that if Bigger keeps playing rugby like this, and he, with the quality caliber of player, you know, you look at how he's managed to get this Northampton backline moving tonight. If you're able to bring in, you know, the likes of Louis Rees-Zammit, if you bring in the likes of Anthony Watson, Stuart Hogg, if he's bringing those players onto the ball in the attacking positions, he could tear this South African backline to pieces. But yeah, we'll soon find out, you know, in a few months' time.
Yeah, the squad is announced on the 6th of May, so it's not that far away at all. We're into the final minutes here. Scrum to London Irish. But thank you very much to everyone who's watched all the way through or joined us parts of the watch long. Thank you very much. Make sure you've liked and subscribed if you're watching and you are new. London Irish, final chance for them to create something, a little bit of space wide for them. How do you summarise this game then, Ben? You have to say Northampton, very professional job, done the basics very, very well, haven't they?
Yeah, I think they definitely learned their mistakes from last week. You know, you saw earlier on that sides were exchanging tries, so to speak. You know, it was one try there, one try there. But they didn't panic at any stage. They didn't readjust anything massively to try and solve that issue early on with the tries the London Irish scored. And I think their defensive aggression, you know, they put so much pressure on the likes of Paddy Jackson and Hepatima in the centres tonight, really has slowed them down in most assets of the game. But, you know, that you've got to say the likes of Bigger and Alex Mitchell have really guided Saints to an emphatic win, you've got to say, especially second half. They really put their foot down and pushed on. Looks like Wayne Barnes is going to look at whether Dan Bigger's deliberately knocked this on here.
Let's have a look. Oh, he's off, and he's going.
Yeah, it's well done.
But if you go one-handed for it, you always risk the chance. Yeah, he's not catching that, is he? So he's going
with 2 seconds left on the clock.
The thing is, he knew, didn't he? He knew. He just started walking anyway. He was off.
Yeah. See you later, boys.
Frustrating finish, but the game is won anyway. London Irish are going to go to the corner.
There's not a lot they can get out of this now, though, mate. To say, you know, even with a converted try, they don't get the opportunity to get a losing bonus point.
No.
Yeah, they don't get a losing bonus point. I can't work it out then.
So this is probably going to be a driving maul, you'd think, because every Premiership team does that at the minute.
Secure.
Oh, nice. It's a driving maul. Advantage to London Irish. They'd love to finish the try here. But Northampton deservedly have won this one. Come back for the original penalty at the maul.
So, mate, did you see the biggest news coming out today, though?
What was that?
That Aldi have been taken to court by Marks and Spencer's.
Oh,
over Cuthbert the Caterpillar. Literally, like, it made me laugh because I was watching Good Morning Britain as I was getting ready for work this morning, and they went from talking about the fact that they think that apparently Harry and William have been told that they need to stand separately in the funeral, etc., etc., and they finished that story, which is, you know, it'll take the position it does, and they went straight into Marks and Spencer's are suing Aldi because their Colin the Caterpillar cake has been made by Aldi and it's £2 cheaper than the one they sell. I'm like, wow, this is the standard of journalism we're here to expect now in the UK.
Oh, he's dropped it over the line.
Yeah, that's not a try for me. Not on. Game over. Well done, Barnesy.
Were they playing advantage or not? No, they weren't. So that is the final whistle there. Northampton have won this one 42 points to 26. That's the final score. Just before we go, I'll tell you a funny story about Aldi. I went for an interview at Aldi once. I got there. Interview was going really, really well. And then they asked me, so what was it that you really like about Aldi? And I was like, oh, really good company. I like the fact as well that they're little on price, but big on quality. In an Aldi interview, completely by mistake, I said to the interviewer that I'm not getting the job on. He said, no. I said, should I go? He said, probably. And so I left. So that's how I'm going to finish. That's just how you mess up an interview, guys. So,
mate, that's if you want to get your YouTube clips up and running, that's a banger there. That's exactly what you expect on the BS Rugby channel. Walks into an Aldi interview and drops a little pun.
One of the biggest competitors as well. I said it and I was like, oh no. Oh no. And I was just like, I just sat there and I couldn't believe it. Ewan's over from the Rugby Geeks channel. Good to see you, Ewan. Hope you're well. Rugby Geeks brilliant channel. Do check him out as he makes some fantastic content, does lots of watch along. So yeah, never walk into an Aldi and say that you love the fact that they're little on price but big on quality. It's doesn't go down too well. But we're going to leave it there. I'm absolutely shattered. It's been a bit of a mad week. But tomorrow there may be a watch along. I'm not 100% decided yet, but it'll be on the community tab if there is one. If not, I'm away for a week now. So I'm going to have a week off and then I'll be back next weekend with all the watch alongs and the build up to the Rainbow Cup as well. So thank you very much for watching. Do check out Ben's channel, Rock and Roll Rugby, as well, and subscribe to his channel. Tom's over from Rugby Geeks. Tom, if you're new, make sure to subscribe, mate. That would be good to see. Rugby Geeks in the chat. Rugby Geeks, hope you are doing well. We're actually just about to log off here, but thank you for coming across. Really do appreciate that. If you have come across, make sure to subscribe and like the stream as well. But we're going to clock off there. And we've got loads of exciting plans coming up, me and Ben, for the Welsh Rugby Roundup show, but also for our personal channel. So we're really excited to bring them to you. But thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you soon here on BS Rugby.